All right. I gotta do the goddamn intro again. Okay, hold on. Sorry, baby. Hold on. All right, here we go, Mark. 3, 2, 1.
Running from the CIA.
Running from the CIA. Mark, who do we have on the show?
We have the one and only BA from Sloppy Seconds.
Hell yeah, BA. Welcome back on the show again. Sorry about that. So, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure.
We also have Ant from Ant Reviews Things joining us. Ant, come on in and say hello.
Hi. Hey, BA. How you doing?
What's up, Ant?
Hey, a couple quick questions for you. Who would win in a fight? Jean-Claude Van Damme or John Wayne?
Oh, is this serious?
A little bit.
Well, today I would say Jean-Claude Van Damme, because he'd be fighting a corpse. But
Right.
Tell me, what was it like the tour after COVID? How was it again?
well, I think we felt the same way everybody else did. Probably it was just great to be out and connect with our fans and our friends again after so long of being cut off from everybody. And the original tour dates got shut down exactly 2 weeks before the first date was supposed to go off. I believe it was like the 13th of March when everything got shut down in the state of Indiana. Other parts out east, especially New York, were already under lockdown. So the dates were supposed to begin, I believe, on March 27th. So it was just like after months and months of planning, 2 weeks out, everything got, the rug was pulled out from under us. So, we had to bide our time like everybody else. I just occasionally put little shout outs on the band's Facebook page to let everybody know we were still planning on honoring all the tour dates as best we could. And when it finally reached the point where our agency felt like the venues were open to booking the dates again, we had to split them up a little bit. We normally do things about 10 days to 2 weeks at a stretch, but this time we did about 4 or 5 dates in August, and then a second clump. The first group was mostly focused on the eastern part of the U.S., and then we did some Midwestern dates. And I figured if we had to set them out a little further, the ideal time would be Halloween weekend because everybody would already be in a party mood and ready to cut loose.
What do you do to keep that awesome voice of yours sounding fresh and strong every night?
It wasn't very awesome to begin with, to be honest. I mean, I always kind of joke about, all four of us really, well, except for Ace. I don't think anybody else would have us in their band, and that's the nature of this band, the way it's always been. We're just friends who happened to start playing together. It wasn't like we came together to form a band, from different places. It was just another thing we did as friends. So, I don't consider myself a singer. I sing for Sloppy Seconds. What we did when we put out our first EP was we sent out copies by mail for $3 a piece postpaid.
Wow.
And every week, 2 or 3 times, I would go to the post office and just send out these copies of the record that people had ordered through a little ad we put in Maximum Rock and Roll. We sent 75 copies of it to this organization called Rockpool. Well, what they did, they basically sent a copy of our EP out to every college station that was part of their network.
Wow.
So we started getting all this airplay on college radio and getting written up before we'd ever put out an album.
Do you miss those days? Like going to the post office, did you ever get to feel the excitement of sending out those,
It was very thrilling to me because I never thought I was going to be in a position to be an entertainer. I was always interested in music, but I figured my best shot was maybe to become a journalist and write about bands and stuff. I never dreamed in a million years I was going to be able to be in a band that people would be interested in coming to see or buy our records. Or God, I never even thought I was going to put out a record. I think that's probably why even at this stage, you know, whatever, 35 years on, I don't take anything for granted. Because to me, it's all a gift. I certainly feel that way. I think the other guys probably do too.
What does BA actually stand for?
We eventually decided it stands for bad attitude. At the time, the A-Team was huge. You know, and the funny thing is, I didn't watch TV at the time. So there was this huge cultural phenomenon going on that I didn't know anything about. And the other guys always try to build me up as this ridiculous character. And at the time, I was like a straight A student and, you know, trying to go on to college and everything. And they just like had this whole separated at birth idea, you know. It's like, okay, well, this white middle-class suburban bookworm and this black soldier of fortune accused of a crime he didn't commit who lives by his own rules. There are no two people in the world that are more alike than the two of them. So they just started calling me BA. You know, we eventually met Mr. T and he did the sound bite on the Knock Your Block Off album and everything. So, you know, anytime anybody talks to me, they don't worry about what my real name is. They just call me BA.
What was your inspiration behind running from the CIA?
Well, I've heard some really strange interpretations of that. Things kind of get away from you sometimes. Originally, when I first started jotting down the lyrics, it was just individual lines. And then when I started tying them together, I guess the idea became that this guy finds out about this conspiracy where the government is allowing women to be abducted by Martians. He's out to expose the whole thing, and all the government agencies of the world are trying to track him down. I thought, you know, that sounds a little too ominous and serious for us. So I thought, you know, he's got to have more earthy motivation here. So it's like, if they do this, I can't get laid. And I can't live with that idea.
But now these lyrics make total sense to me, because you say, the only girl I ever loved was kidnapped, beaten, raped, and drugged. If Mars needs women, then Mars can wait, because I ain't gonna masturbate. No way.
Right.
Okay, so now these lyrics make total sense to me. I just thought they were funny lyrics.
I'd hate to think you've been struggling with this for years.
Since high school. I'm 40 years old, BA.
You can't hang this shit on me, man. I'm sorry.
It's your fault.
So
Yeah, it all comes back to me eventually.
Endless Bummer was the last album you guys put out, right? So
Yeah.
are you guys still writing new materials for a new album or anything, or what's going on with the new songs?
We've actually got a lot of partially finished songs lying around. There's a few songs we recorded that didn't make it onto the last album. And it wasn't because they were substandard or anything. It was just they didn't quite fit with the theme. You know, one was a little more melancholy than, you know, I mean, some of our earlier stuff, like I think the Endless Bummer album is really kind of in your face, where something earlier like Knock Your Block Off, I think, is kind of a melancholy album through a lot of it. You know, it's got a lot of songs about regret and, you know, dealing with the past, that kind of stuff. And so we had a song that didn't make it onto the last album, which I thought was pretty good, about somebody who gets a traffic citation and has to spend the whole summer working at a fast food joint called See You at the Drive-Thru. And it's I think it's a pretty good song, and it's got a pretty good hook, but it just didn't really fit with the kind of things that ended up on Endless Bummer.
My favorite song of yours is actually Don's Guns. It was like a destroyed extra track. It was an old recording of John. I just love that song. I listened to it again today. And I
Wow.
I would love to hear that re-recorded because I think that song is incredible. Like I love the beats, I love the song, and then you're doing like, you know, like you're doing those little chants like, "Do you believe in Jesus, boy? Well, you're gonna meet him." Did you get that from Death Wish too?
Yeah, actually, I think all those are quotes from those right-wing vigilante movies. There's a couple Dirty Harry lines in there, and the story behind that actually, that was a local gun dealer here in Indianapolis who had these commercials. He had this beautiful set of false teeth, and he looked kind of like, sort of like a Jerry Garcia kind of looking guy, and except no glasses, but he would actually have these commercials where he'd say, "I don't want to make any money, folks. I just love to sell guns," you know. And
Because I don't want to make any money, folks. I just love to sell guns.
he became like a local legend around here. He was like the Crazy Eddie of gun sales, and we wrote a song about him because he was like such a local legendary figure. And I think actually one night when I wasn't able to make it, but the other three guys, this was back when Danny was still in the band, so probably like around 1986, I'm thinking. There was some local amateur talent night or something, and Don from Don's Guns was one of the judges, so they actually jumped up and sang Don's Guns for him as a judge, and they won like $150 that night. It was kind of a funny situation.
Now, you told me some stories like in the early days of Sloppy, you got a chance to open up for Danzig. How did that happen, and what was that like, taking the stage with Danzig?
I didn't really have any direct contact with him, you know. I mean, we just played our set, and I think Danny was still in the band. He talked to him a little bit after the show, and he wasn't like going off on any of his rants or anything like that. He just Danny just told him, you know, I think this was when just after that first album was out. He was just on tour for the first album because he did the Elvis song "Trouble" was his encore, and it hadn't been released at that point, so that was just like a live cover that he did. And I think Danny said something like, you know, that was really cool. I'm glad we got to play with you. How's the tour been going? The guy said, "Well, this is the third night without monitors. I'm not real crazy about that." Yeah, that was probably before our first album was released. We were just gigging around the city at the time, and that was a good opening slot we were offered. The stupidest opening slot we ever had was they put us on a show with Fugazi. Yeah, that's about what we thought about it. I mean, I the whole time I was thinking, you know, there's going to be a crowd here, but they're not going to like anything about what we do. The funniest thing I remember about that was, like, at the time, our first album must have been out, and I think we had maybe like one T-shirt and our singles. So we were trying to set up our records and T-shirts on the merch table, but we barely had any room because Fugazi just had literature spread out over the entire table, you know, about Greenpeace and Amnesty International and all this stuff. And I was like, "You guys don't sell anything?" And they just looked at us like we're out of our minds. Like, "No, this isn't," you know. And I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a lifestyle. I understand." Well, this is our lifestyle.
So you're singing songs like "Running from the CIA," "So Fucked Up," and like "I Don't Want to Be a Homosexual," and there's Fugazi spreading Greenpeace,
and that's fine, you know. I mean, there's, you know, they've got their fans and everything, but I just have no idea why anybody thought we should be opening for them.
All right, so back to the first concert I ever saw you. You were on tour with Mustard Plug, and you had on stage a trash can with weights, dumbbells, and I've waited for this.
Boxing gloves, yeah.
Boxing gloves and dumbbells, and you did this on stage, and I thought it was the most interesting thing I've ever seen a frontman ever do. What was the deal with these? I've been waiting 20 years to ask you this question.
It was just basically to give me something to do while the guitar solo was playing out. You know, I mean, I think depending on the song, the one we did it a lot on is 15 minutes or it's free, because that's kind of a long guitar solo that runs, I think, like 6 measures or something. You know, and I otherwise I would just kind of be wandering around or drinking a beer or something, and they said, well, you need to be doing something there. And I said, wait a minute, we've got these dumbbells. Why don't you pump some iron during that scene? Oh, okay. Well, why? Like, oh, because you're feeling the energy, man. You know, Eye of the Tiger. I'm like, oh, okay, right, whatever.
What do you guys like usually eat while you're on tour?
Usually, part of our contract is that we either get a food buyout, or if the venue has its own kitchen or grill, they include a hot meal for us when we get there. Sometimes that's good. You know, the only thing we always say is don't order us a carry-out pizza. You know, I mean, that's always hit and miss. During the day when we stop, everybody's kind of leery about just eating junk food all day long. So at least every other day, we try to find some place kind of gives you a well-balanced meal, like a Cracker Barrel or something like that. You know, the other thing is most of the time when we're out on the road, I'm the one driving the van too. So
really, you guys don't switch drivers?
I don't want those guys behind the wheel. Now, at the end of the show, if I'm pretty plowed after coming off stage, Ace will drive because he doesn't drink. Steve or Bubba, no way. I don't want those guys behind the wheel.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in Destroyed, isn't that Steve's parents complaining about like the car and stuff? Because they're like,
doesn't that tell you something?
how did you guys
let all the oil run out of his car? Do you think I want him to drive the van?
How did you guys get Steve's parents and to record that and put it on your record?
Well, they didn't know it was being recorded, you know. He saw this argument brewing, so he just grabbed this little portable tape player and pushed the record button and held it at his side while the whole. And you can kind of tell he's goosing him every once in a while. He's like, "Play with my records," you know. Elaborate, please.
I just love Steve's mom and dad. Like, you ain't got no goddamn thing.
Yeah, she comes in as the voice of reason. What he's telling you is you ain't got a goddamn drop of oil in that goddamn thing.
Well, he's trying to tell you you ain't got a goddamn drop of oil in that goddamn thing.
What do your kids think of your music? Are they Sloppy fans, or are they like, do they go to school and talk about their dad, or what?
My older daughter's getting a little juice out of it now. She got involved in roller derby, and you know there's a fair amount of punk rock crossover with roller derby too. She got to trade on that a little bit, that her dad was BA from Sloppy Seconds. Usually they don't really think about it unless I have to tell them, stay out of the room. I got to do an interview right now, or I'm going to be gone next week, that kind of stuff. The way I look at it is it's kind of like some people's parents go on hunting trips or fishing vacations, that kind of stuff. I go out and sing with the band. My younger kid, she always wishes me well when we go out on the road, but I don't think she listens to any of our music for pleasure.
Now, with the cancel culture being as strong as it is, when you play songs like I Don't Want to Be a Homosexual or Come Back Tracy, how does that affect modern day audiences now? Because everyone gets offended over every little detail now. My
feeling is, if you're going to see a band of long standing that has a reputation and identity, if you get offended, that's what the door's for. Just walk out. I don't worry about it with us so much because I don't think people come to see us by accident. At this stage in our career, if you're not already a fan, the only reason you're at the show is because a friend bought you and said, you got to see this band, or, hey, what are you doing tonight? Hey, I'm going to see Sloppy Seconds. It's not like you're going to wander into the Sloppy Seconds show by accident. First of all, I don't think we're offensive because I think it's always been pretty clear there's a sense of humor behind everything and sense of satire, and a lot of it is self-deprecating too. I mean, we kind of sing songs from the point of view of an idiot. I don't think we have enough at stake that it really matters whether anybody tries to cancel us or not. Our fans are going to be our fans, and there have been people from the very beginning who just kind of like held up their nose and said, well, this isn't funny, this isn't entertaining, you know. I don't think we could emerge fully formed as a band in 2020 or 2021 the same way we did in the 90s.
Or the 80s too. No, okay.
Yeah, the late 80s. I mean, that's pretty much when we came to public attention. I think today, the funny thing is, even if it was us just doing what came natural, everybody would think we were like striking a big pose and just deliberately trying to be offensive. We've been told that I Don't Want to Be a Homosexual gets played nightly in some gay bars. You know, it's kind of the resident DJ closes out his set with it sometimes, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, and lots of queer guys have come up to us at the shows and told us, you know, they really like the band and they like the song. The one thing that always kind of blows my mind is one song that I really thought might get us in a lot of trouble was Black Roses. And the weird thing about that song, which is about unplanned pregnancy and abortion, girls like it more than anybody. Our female fans like that song most of all. I don't know why. That one still kind of throws me, but that's what I've learned over the years.
Well, BA, thank you so much for taking time to spending time with us, and you know, this has been a fantastic interview, and it's great to catch up with you again. It really is. So,
well, thanks. I appreciate the thoughtful questions, and if it shed any light on anything you weren't clear about before, if nothing else, Ant is not going to be tortured by running from the CIA anymore.
Okay, so now these lyrics make total sense to me. I just thought they were funny lyrics.
I'd hate to think you've been struggling with this for years.
Like a virgin, touch for the very first time. Like a virgin. God damn it, I forgot the lyrics.
Mashed potatoes are great.